Hi, this is Chris. Today I'm going to share my 52 Stitches Handmade Challenge by Anne Brooke, textile artist. And I missed February. I shared January, so weeks 1 through 4 were January, and they were the chain stitch, the star stitch, French knots, and braided cable. And I didn't end up making a video for February, so just move these up a little bit. So for February we had sequins. So I have all kinds of little sequins and some little shells and a little pearl type embellishment. These were all from my grandmother's lace box. She had a little box inside her lace box that had a bunch of old sequins and things like that. The shells, I'm not sure if those were hers or where I got those, but I just put in some really pretty cobalt blue and some coppery gold sequins and some silver sequins in there. And week number 6 was the blanket stitch, so I just did a meander of blanket stitches. And week number 7 was the coral stitch, and I made it look like coral, like a growth of coral on the sea bottom. And number 8 was the cross stitch. So in each sample I put one little stitch to show the stitch by itself in the corner. So each one has that. And so that was for February. And then March was bullion stitch. And that's always a difficult one, I think, to get the tension right and the wrappings right. And then number 10 was loopy. So it's just a loopy stitch. 11 was threaded back stitch, so the yellow is the back stitch, and then the blue I thread or wove around each one, and here's one stitch of that. Number 12 was the feathered chain, and usually I can interpret Anne's left hand example to my right-handedness, but I had difficulty doing it on this one. I had to sort of draw myself a little chart. Stitch 1, stitch 2, stitch 3, stitch 4, stitch 5, stitch 6, etc. And I made mine into like a little vine of flowers. And so the last one of March was the open ladder stitch. This is another one you have to think carefully as you're doing it. So I just put a sample there. So the object is, I want a sampler. I don't want little pieces of art. I don't want little pieces of extraordinary embroidery. I just want to show myself and remind myself how the stitch is done. And then when these are all done, I will cut them out with a 1/4 inch border, fold that under and applique that on to probably a piece of vintage quilt. I have a couple different pieces of vintage quilts, but I haven't decided which one I'll use. So I'm just going to go through the year and continue on this. This is a 100% cotton sheet that I bought at a rummage sale, and it was made in India for Bed Bath & Beyond. It's a really nice, well washed and softened sheet. So that's all of my squares, all of my samples so far this year. For my template I use this 2x2 slide, and I just put it on here and I mark around it with this erasable pen, Flex-On erasable pen that a low heat iron will make it disappear. And then I take some batting and I cut it a little bit larger, and it's a little too thick, so I very carefully ease it apart right down the middle so that I have two pieces. Once you get it started, it's not hard. Just want to be careful it doesn't get too thin. So now I have two more pieces for that, and I pin those inside between two pieces of the sheeting. So that gives me a little bit of dimension to my squares. And you can see here's the back. And some of them are a little bit warped, but I can straighten that out when I applique them onto the quilt. Thanks for watching, and have a great day stitching. Bye-bye!